crypto asset? Which one's the best crypto asset? Bitcoin's the best crypto asset. Which one's the best? 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 What's the second best?
This is Discover Crypto, and we have a huge show for you today because Bitcoin had a massive crash. So we're going to talk about the EU tariff war. What is going on? Is America going to go to war over Greenland? We have the actual letter. There's a lot of fake images going around there. So we have the actual text that Trump sent out. Also, precious metals are soaring. So we're going to cover that as well. And we might have TJ popping in a little bit, folks. But let's get back into Bitcoin. He's having an issue with the camera. Bitcoin, massive crash. This is going to happen. You can see this late Sunday evening, a few hours before midnight. Bitcoin dumped a significant amount. Some reports are saying, you saw Wix close to $4,000. This is about a $3,500 dump that happened in a matter of hours. A lot of liquidations. A lot of people got wrecked on this. When you see it here, it fell over 2,000 in just minutes, and it ended up falling 3,000 over hours as the markets react to the U.S.-EU trade war returning. So we're going to break down what's happening there. And we have the exact tariff playbook, step-by-step guide. This is from Kobayashi Letter. His last playbook came out exactly. So he just doubled down and said, all right, folks, we know how the Trump tariff is going to break down. We know what's going to happen first. We know what's going to happen second. We know what's going to happen third, fourth, fifth, sixth. So we're going to look at the steps, see where we're at, and then see what happens next. And then see, can Bitcoin have a little bit of a recovery here? Trump messing everybody up. Bear market just starting. We have that prediction that I made on Friday looking a lot better. We called for a Bitcoin crash. And when I see Caleb Franzen basically showing my charts, that's when I know maybe I'm onto something. But speaking of showing the charts, let's hit refresh here. We have Bitcoin. Everything is flat for the past hour. So you can see massive crash. And now we're just in consolidation. We're in wait and see mode. I don't know if I've seen this many 0% percentage gains for the last hour in a long time. This is about as flat as I've seen the crypto market maybe ever. Now, if we look at the last 24 hours, Bitcoin's down 2.2, ETH down 3.6. Keep scrolling. Doge, 6.4% drawdown there. Figure Haylock looking a little sus there. Cardano with the 6.3% pullback there. Look for the big gainers. I did see 3.4. Yeah, we have Monero. Monero continuing to pump. Monero with the nice move right there. Let's look at the big gainers. It is Monero followed by Sky. Then gold, we're going to check on the gold options. We're going to look at the silver options, and then I'm going to tell you the next precious metal to pump. I have a little bit of a breakdown. We've kind of been throwing out some hints for the last week or two. We have been adjusting our portfolio for this impending move. We have Aster looking like a disaster yet again. We're glad we took some profit around $1. SWE is down 12%. I say profit. We use the platform. We get free Aster. And then we dump. So there was just an Aster airdrop that was able to be claimed. It looks like a lot of people are dumping their Aster. Aptos down, ARB down, Athena down. We're seeing a lot of coins down, especially in the DeFi realm, as the markets are absorbing that maybe the Clarity Act is not going to pass. And now we're seeing a lot of tailwinds for some of these DeFi projects. They're wanting this DeFi where they want the Clarity Act to give clear rules for the road. We're not seeing that. And those markets are pretty much dumping, folks. Now, I do want to talk about the recent Bitcoin pullback. This is actually a Trump victory consolidation on the 4-hour chart. Now, looking at the 20-minute, looking at the 5-minute, looks pretty disastrous. You can go to the 1 hour. Oh, man, it looks like a little Bart Simpson with a little cowlick forming right there. But, folks, you need to zoom out. You need to calm down, and you need to grow a pair. That's kind of my take here. If you look, let's throw up my little rotated triangle here. This is the Trump victory consolidation. This is a healthy pullback into the bottom of the range that we've been trading within for months. So this is going all the way back to November. But why do I call it the Trump victory consolidation? Because that was over a year ago when he took office. Well, if you look, this is going to be, the tariff, about the worst of the tariff war. We started to bounce. And what did we do? We hung out in this range. We actually went above it. And then we came back down, and then Bitcoin went on a run. When we had a huge clash with the first tariff spooking the investor market here, we pump. Where did we reverse? This same rectangle range. This is also support. This is also support. And if you look, when Trump won in November 2024, this is the first cool down area where we create a little bit of a ascending triangle right there, and then this turned into our support, lost it, turned into resistance, turned back into support, and then Bitcoin went on a nice little run. And so if we just kind of take a breath, calm down, count to 3, smash that like button, you'll see, okay, maybe this is just a healthy pullback. So I'm not going to claim, it's over. It's not going to, I'm not saying it's the bear market just yet, but we have looked at this area for a long time now. Let's get into the news here. What exacerbated the Bitcoin crash was this right here. Here's why crypto market's dumping. A lot of these algos triggered sell orders. Insiders sold 22,000 Bitcoin. Coinbase, 2,500 Bitcoin. Bybit sold. Binance sold. Wintermute sold. More than all of the others, whales and exchanges sold $4 billion worth of Bitcoin in 1 hour. Pure coordinated dump, or you could say the algos in coordination dump Bitcoin, creating a cascading effect. And if you had asked me, I think some of these algos, they have it written into the code. They have it written where, okay, we dump X amount or maybe lose X support, trigger a sell, which then triggers another sell, creates a negative feedback loop, kind of like the Bermuda Triangle of sells. And then Bitcoin took a massive crash. Now, he's popping in and out. I see him in the background. Stay tuned. We're going to try to get his camera working. Maybe we'll have Aaron pop up with his baby. Aaron, I hope you're listening. I want to see the Disco fan wants to see the baby. All right, 100K is hard for Bitcoin. Got the day off work. Who else? Yeah, who got today off? Smash the like button if you got MLK day off. Congress, of course, has the week off. The markets have the day off. And maybe that's why we're seeing a lot of volatility here. Coming in from Dallas, maybe going to have the new New York Stock Exchange, I don't know if you call it the new Texas Exchange, the new Dallas Exchange, or maybe we just reinvigorate the show Dallas, and then we combine the two. Let's get back into Bitcoin here. We'll talk about why we're falling. We got the breakdown. We got the Greenland letter. We got the Trump threat. I have the actual text because I've seen fake letter. I knew something was wrong with the Trump sent letter to Greenland. When I go on X and I see, well, one letter looked like this, and another letter had like the presidential seal, and another letter had a signature, another letter had a different signature. Then I looked into it. They're all photocopied forgeries. They're fakeries. But we do and here's the crazy thing. Trump never sent a letter. He sent a text message. We have the actual text. You're going to see a lot of people reporting to you the fake news. But, on Disco Fan, we do the due diligence. We actually try to have a little journalistic integrity. I know that's crazy, but that's what we stand for on this channel. Now, why is Bitcoin falling? The main reason, new trade war between the U.S. and Europe. He's threatened to put 10 to 25% tariffs on 8 European countries. How does that affect Bitcoin? When there's a big fight, when mom and dad fight, investors get scared and they sell risky things to save their money, risky things like Bitcoin. Also, MLK Day, less money in the market. That makes the price fall even faster. Like that right there, folks. And we're going to do the exact playbook, just 1 through 10. We're not going to get into the final one, but we're going to talk about the playbook. But first, let's talk about what is actually happening here. So global stocks retreating after a Trump tariff threat. European stocks fall after Greenland threats, and the U.S. markets close for MLK Day. Now, the futures fell, European shares fell, while gold and silver notched record highs after Trump said he would slap tariffs on several European countries for opposing his plan to take control of Greenland. And folks, I hope you don't mind me pivoting to covering a little bit more gold, a little bit more silver months ago, because we saw this move coming. And, if you jumped in with us, you're doing pretty well. Now, in a social media post Saturday, Trump said 10% tariffs. This is what got the market spooked. This happened Saturday night. 10% tariffs would kick in February 1st. For all goods imported from Denmark, Norway, Sweden, France, Germany, and the UK, the Netherlands, and Finland. Now, you might notice, well, if it posted on Saturday, but we dumped Sunday night, what is this? Stock market futures, Bitcoin futures. So in a way, you could say this is directly related to Wall Street manipulation, just in another form. This is going to be big money manipulation, and it does look like we have the TJ.
I'm here. I got it. I just had to try every different cable and every different port, but now my camera's working. So
All right, there you go. Hopefully you didn't grab the one in your closet. That I use that for David Carradine style stuff. But let's cover this article. EU ambassadors held crisis talks on Sunday, considering potential responses include never before trade defense. The EU might use this never before trade defense known as the bazooka. The EU executive arm said retaliatory tariffs on more than 100 billion in U.S. goods were put on hold in 2025. They can now come into effect as soon as February 7th. So they're going to use their bazooka, but I would warn this bazooka is like shooting one out of your living room window. You might hit your target, your artillery shell might find its intended point, but maybe you're going to blow up your couch and your TV and your entire living room is going to be wrecked. Now, traders return to familiar playbooks, dumping stocks as stung by tariffs, piling high into investments that benefit from geopolitical tensions. European defense stocks rallied, and we also saw the precious metals rallying. Gold and silver futures jumped to new intraday highs. We're still in the gold futures. Where I'm going to reveal them later. Gold rose more than 1.5%, trade around 4,700 a troy ounce. Silver, 94 a troy ounce at one point. So we see huge gains. And then we're going to talk about the fake letter. But first, let's do the playbook. TJ, we were talking, how on point has Kobe letter been with his Trump tariff predictions?
Very, very good. I mean, we've used this playbook before, and so this is exactly this playbook that DZ is about to break down. I actually probably think we should even do a whole upload on it for the people that don't catch the live streams, but this is exactly how I'm going to play it. You know, we'll probably see a relief rally, and you're going to get into the whole thing, and then maybe a little bit lower. But I definitely think this is all posturing, all positioning to continue to make a deal. I do see this deal happening at some point. It's posturing on both sides. You know, the UK or EU is not as strong as they like to present. And we obviously aren't as war hungry as we like to present. It's all posturing, we being the United States or Trump. So, yeah, I think
the states don't get along, like Florida and California. Try looking at Greece and Italy. They got a long simmering feud going back millennia.
Yeah, and there's a lot of reasons, and I saw somebody break it down pretty well that basically what we're seeing right now is the clash between the nationalists and the globalists, so to speak, in who, you know, should a country protect their own interests or should they be more worried about the greater good? I would argue that the greater good isn't always that good. And so that's basically the clash that we're seeing right now. And I think Europe probably has learned that over the years, I would hope. But yeah, this playbook that DZ is about to break down, you guys need to pay attention, hit the like button, because this right here is probably how you should be playing the next week to 10 days or so. And then I did see somebody asking if I was bullish, and on the long term, I'm always bullish. And that's something to keep in mind. We're going to give you a lot of short-term insights on how to play things in the near term, but long term, I'm mostly a macro investor, and it usually works out good. And I've got the Fed is on the move again. So I don't know if you already covered or have that later in the show, but there is some stuff coming out of the Fed of what they're going to be doing over the next 3 weeks. So, but let's hit this tariff playbook first.
All right. Now, yeah, if you want to pull up that Fed stuff. Now, on Friday, this is the playbook. On a Friday, Trump will post a cryptic message talking about tariffs on a specific country or vector or sector, and then markets will drift lower. This began on Friday just recently. So he'll wait for the markets to close on Friday. Later the same day or shortly after, this time it's Saturday, he'll then announce a large new tariff. Again, making sure the markets are closed. Saturday and Sunday, he will keep doubling down to apply pressure while the markets are closed. Over the weekend, the countries targeted typically respond publicly. And then around Sunday evening, when futures reopen, or in this case, tonight because of MLK Day, stock market futures will drop in an emotional reaction. So this is what we're seeing now. So in response on the Monday, like all this crazy stuff happens Friday after markets close. Monday opens, boom, big drop. Then on Monday, Tuesday, Trump will continue to apply pressure publicly, but investors recognize, kind of digest the news. Oftentimes you'll see, all right, well, these tariffs are still going to take weeks. Maybe we can find a deal in that amount of time. This time, February 1st. This is the same thing that happens every time. And then by Wednesday, typically, the dip buyers will step in, and we're typically pumping by Wednesday. And then on the following weekend, about a week later, he'll post that discussions are underway with the leaders by the people targeted by the tariffs. And then Sunday evening, right when the futures open, you'll see a nice little pump. And then Monday, You'll have Scott Bessent. You'll have the others. They'll start doing the circuit. They'll do the media circuit on live TV, reassure investors. And then over the next 2-4 weeks, we keep teasing progress. Then we get a trade deal. Then the markets are happy. And then we go back to step one, where we issue a new threat. So this is kind of the playbook. And we've been seeing this come to fruition time and time and time again. And this is all over Greenland and this fake letter right here, TJ. Now, should U.S. take Greenland? Yes or no? Chat, yes or no? Take. I don't mean ask for it nicely. Take the Iron Fist. Should we take Greenland?
I think we should acquire it, whether that's through monetary reasons or military ways. I do think if you look at strategic positioning of military,
it's a lot of no's.
Military assets. Yeah, I'm sure, and I know why. I feel like we've been conditioned to believe that we should never, never be involved in anything. But if you look at military positioning around the world, Greenland is a pretty significant place when it comes to not just trade routes, but where military assets are positioned. So I believe if we don't, it's very much, I saw it pretty interesting. I wish I had it in front of me. I'll have to go see who posted it. It comes down to a lot of the missile pathing and stuff like that, especially with the way Canada is getting more and more aligned with China. If they're basically North China, then we need some way to be in between us and Russia and China when it comes to going over the Arctic like that. So I think it's much more advantageous for us and the EU for us to have a presence there. Now, does that mean take it by force? Not necessarily. Does that mean buy it? Maybe. Does that mean, come up with some kind of arrangement that's good for everybody? I think that's ultimately the path that we're on. There's a lot of economic incentive, I think, for Greenland to be part of the United States, or at least participant, maybe not like part of the United States, it wouldn't be, but part of having a heavy United States presence there. I'll just say that much. Both from trade stuff, when you look at the manufacturing of a lot of the chips and AI and a lot of that sort of stuff, as well as, there's some key military bases that have nuclear capabilities and all that sort of stuff that are very exposed if another superpower were to occupy it. So I guess, everybody, the consensus is generally like, oh, just keep things status quo. Just keep everything the way they are. And that's all well and good unless things are changing. And if you're not paying attention, the world is changing. To take it back to money, in a lot of ways, I think what we're seeing right now is shrouded in all kinds of other stuff. We're seeing a battle, in my opinion, between BlackRock and JP Morgan. If we come back to what was going on with the Clarity Act and deposits and the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve, BlackRock is much more in the Bitcoin digital world side. JP Morgan is trying to hold on to what has been. And JP Morgan, heavy, not just ties to, but is born and based originally out of London in Europe. So you're kind of seeing a battle, like I said, again, of the globalists versus the nationalists. If you believe that everybody in the world should work together for each other and be a global community, then you're probably saying everybody should stay put. The U.S. should get weaker and let other people rise up. If you believe every nation is responsible for doing what's best for their people, then I think it's pretty clear moving towards Greenland is what's best for the United States if you kind of look at all the pieces on the board. That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm not a military, minded person. I'm not pretending to be a global strategist, but from everything I've seen, I think there was, and I don't know if we covered this on the show last week, but we pay 1.4 Greenlands a year in interest payments.
Yep.
So it's not necessarily a big monetary lift for us. And I believe we're seeing huge income come from all these tariffs. I think it's, again, a lot of positioning. There's obviously a lot of assets there from a commodities standpoint. So I think it's in the best interest of the United States to have a controlling interest in what's going on in that region. I'll just say that much.
I always want to say, what do the 50,000 Inuit want? But no one's asking that question. But
I think they want some money. That's what I'm saying. We could afford to give them all, $1 million. That's pretty convincing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, 100%. No, 100%. Now, let's get into the letter to Greenland. or I should say the fake letter. I saw 4 different fake letters. I saw some with big elaborate. I've seen some that are like 2 pages. I've seen some that big old autograph on the bottom, the giant Trump signature. I've seen different ones with different letterheads. One thing in common, all of them have slightly inaccurate text, slightly inaccurate. So let's get into the actual. If you see this, it's fake. If you see this, it is not real. If there's a YouTuber or crypto guy on it, anybody sharing this, it's not real. It's like they just want to mislead you. But Trump links his push for Greenland to not winning a Nobel Peace Prize. And yes, I'm aware, New York Times will just keep our opinions of that separate. Now, Trump is now claiming that one reason he's pushing to acquire Greenland is that he didn't win the Nobel Peace Prize, according to not a letter, a text message he sent to Norway's prime minister over the weekend. There is no letter. Now, Jonas Store, Norway's leader, received the text message yesterday. Now, I have the actual text because, typical to New York Times, they kind of omit some of the sentences, which is super weird, but they should. Why wouldn't you just have the whole text? But anyways, dear Jonas, brother, considering your country decided not to give me the Nobel Peace Prize for having stopped 8 wars plus, I no longer feel an obligation to think purely of peace, although we'll always be predominant, but can now think about what is good and proper for the USA. Denmark cannot protect that land from Russia or China. Why do they have a right of ownership anyways? There are no written documents. It's only that a boat landed there hundreds of years ago, but we had boats landing there also. I have done more for NATO than any other person since its founding, and now NATO should do something for the United States. The world is not secure unless we have complete and total control of Greenland. Thank you, President Donald J. Trump. Now, Greenland has been part of the Danish kingdom for more than 300 years, and world leaders are now condemning his insistence that they take over the territory, a giant icebound island in the Arctic region. There's also from the quote, and in 1916, just for a little precedence, Denmark sold the U.S. Virgin Islands to the U.S. for $25 million in gold. And the treaty for that deal clause read, the United States of America will not object to the Danish government extending their political and economic interests to the whole of Greenland. So we did sign some paperwork. 1916 says there's a much anticipated 3-way meeting last week between U.S., Denmark, and Greenland, hosted by JD, did not produce any breakthroughs and instead seemed to create more misunderstandings. The main misunderstanding, Trump administration said afterwards, technical talks on the acquisition of Greenland has now begun. That raised their eyebrows, TJ. So that's the actual news with Greenland. Just a lot of noise out there, but it does look like the tariff threat is direct response of the Greenland acquisition.
Yeah, I mean, like we said at the top of the show, this is all posturing in a lot of different ways. This all does come back to money. If you guys are wondering why we're talking about it, it obviously impacts markets. And in my opinion, like I said, if you continue to dig deep and follow the money, what we're witnessing is a battle, in my opinion, between 2 of the strongest economic powers in the world that supersede government, by the way. BlackRock, JP Morgan, they're not beholden to any one government. They play within rules, but they help make those rules, and they've been doing it for a long time, since before 1916. Back in the 1800s is when a lot in JP Morgan's influence really, basically has been a stranglehold on the United States since the beginning. So go back and read some of that history and really dig in. And again, this ties into the Clarity Act. It's not a coincidence that all of these things are happening at the same time. The tariffs, the money printing, the banks fighting crypto harder than they ever have before, the banking lobby being extremely funded and extremely aggressive towards killing and kind of hamstringing both DeFi and Bitcoin and stable coins kind of all at the same time. This is all intertwined, and it's always, always about money. And so if you're upset about any of this stuff, it's just the reality that the world's in. Economic incentives drive most of the decisions that happen. And then everything else is kind of a wrapper of, why we should do this and should do that, moral superiority and all these different things. It's all just a wrapper for basically the richest, most powerful people in the world trying to move their incentives forward.
All right, we got someone who looks like emo Peter Parker. If Denmark offered me $100K to succeed from the U.S., I probably would. Be so for real. Plot twist, they offer it in Melania token. So now you're like, I don't know, man. I'll be lucky to get 10K with that illiquid market. Now, talk about Bitcoin. Let's get back to the charts here. I love seeing this. Caleb Franzen, similarities are hard to ignore. He just posted this morning, but we've been talking about this chart since last week. This is talking about the 50-week moving average, and we predicted this massive crypto crash is near, talking about the same 50-week moving average. So go watch this 3 days ago. Not enough of you guys watched that. A lot of strong TA for Bitcoin in there, predicting basically everything that we're seeing here. Bitcoin down, gold futures up as Europe threatens the trade bazooka. Just a couple things I want to share. $750 million in longs were liquidated in just 1 4-hour period there. Total $860 million. Meanwhile, precious metals, they're surging as they continue to decouple from Bitcoin. Gold futures record high, silver future record high, first time in history. This is from research from BitTrue. I see Trump's tariffs over Greenland sparking trade war fears and creating a risk-off mood in the markets. To TJ's point there, this is why we're covering it. The Greenland news is going to have a strong move for Bitcoin as well. It's not just going to be gold. From a pure price percentage gain perspective, though, I love this take. Bitcoin will have a pump that makes what's happening with gold and silver over the last year look boring. TJ, would you agree with this? Chat, would you agree with this? Yes or no? Is Bitcoin pump about to embarrass gold's 2025 pump?
Maybe on a percentage basis, like what we saw with gold. Obviously, I think it added more.
Not totality of market cap dollars.
Correct.
Yeah, I would agree. Yes.
Yes. So, I mean, but that's part of why I think so many people realize we're going to see an incredible pump. I think gold's added, I want to say, more than $10 trillion here in the last year. If Bitcoin adds just $2 trillion, we're talking, or $3 trillion, we're talking about a doubling, getting close to $250,000 Bitcoin. So I do believe, and history would tell us, after gold and silver runs, Bitcoin does follow. So seeing all of this money pour into commodities, for me, is just getting me more and more bullish that this $250,000 Bitcoin is much closer than a lot of people think. And then we continue to run on the path to 500K and $1 million given enough time. And again, I do want to emphasize, long-term time investing in Bitcoin almost always pays off, or has always paid off in the future if you have a long-term time horizon. It's not a bad time at all. We've been saying on this channel, commodities is where you want your money for the last couple of years. We've been saying that. Gold, obviously, commodities, silver, copper, palladium, all have been moving incredibly well. Bitcoin, also a commodity. And I do believe we will see Bitcoin at astronomically new all-time highs in the not too distant future. Now, that's not next week, by the way. A lot of this stuff has to shake out. Still need the Clarity Act to pass. Still need the big, beautiful bill to kick in. The money printing. I think that's one thing we've learned from all of this, is the money printing will never stop. And that's pretty much the only takeaway you need to have to know that Bitcoin will continue to go up. Bitcoin is a hard asset. It has a hard cap. So it will continue to go up relative to the dollar. One of the simplest things in Bitcoin is this saying, Bitcoin has no top because the dollar has no bottom. And all of that news we just covered says we're going to be printing a whole lot more money. And even the bond market's playing all of this stuff, and it's too much to cover in one show. But I mean, we've even got this here, and this is what I was talking about. The Fed just to inject another $55.3 billion over the next 3 weeks through bond reinvestments and reserve purchases. So if the Fed is stepping up and buying bonds like this, and this is over 3 weeks, and I think my projection is this will continue to escalate. We will continue to see the Fed buying assets. We will continue to see the Treasury buying assets. We will continue to see money creation. The M2 money supply is at all-time highs, whether you're talking China, US, global, any M2 money supply chart you look at, it's at an all-time high right now with no signs of slowing down. That's all you need to know that Bitcoin will continue to go up. And again, there's a lot of uncertainty in the world. A lot of people have strong opinions one way or the other, but at the end of the day, I feel safest with my money in Bitcoin more than anything else. I mean, you could say gold. Sure, it's been around thousands of years, but to DZ's point that kind of started me on this rant.
I got a chart that's, if you think gold is nuts, 100%, we will be on Arena. Drew's just out sick, so we are going to be on Arena. Before I show the gold, I do want to give a shout out to Lark Davis. Lark, I didn't realize I weren't following you. This is one of my bigger flexes, the 1.4 following me, but I don't follow him. So we're going to definitely earn like, so I'm going to read in on that a little bit later after the stream. But gold, Bitcoin has never been this undervalued relative to gold.
Yep.
Of course, we're doing not when Bitcoin was a penny or whatever. Current valuation, just talking about liquidity, relative value. This is lower than during any bear market ever. and after every single Black Swan event. And this right here, this chart is screaming, back up the truck, buy some Bitcoin, folks. This is extremely, extremely good position to buy some Bitcoin if you're looking to take some gold profits, in my opinion. And we have been rolling some of our precious metal options profits into MicroStrategy options. Now, speaking of futures options, TJ, gold and silver futures are down today. Not a lot of people. I love showing this silver call option. We gave you this one at 60 cents. 60 cents. We gave this one almost a 30x at this point. Very, very good pump right there. But this is also an interesting take. The next commodity to go full bull-tard, probably copper. Now, he does have a take here. Structural supply deficit, even without insatiable AI demand, price breaking out of a 20-year range. Sounds similar to silver, in my opinion, right there. Now, this is also nuts. World's largest online bullion exchange of copper completely sold out. Let it sink in. Not paper contracts, not futures. Physical copper gone. It's an industrial metal. I did a little bit of research here. I haven't, verified this myself by any means. But how much copper and how much silver does a Model Y use? Just a base model? Significant amounts. Now, this is just kind of going off other estimates here. Lower end figures for copper, 110 to 176 pounds of copper per Model Y. So we'll just say about 150 pounds of copper. Silver, 25 to 50 grams. And so when I see this copper running out, yeah, we have rotated some profits into copper. We'll check in on this, but I am pretty bullish. But back to Bitcoin, Stake and Shake, they now have added to the strategic Bitcoin reserve. They've added $10 million. The one thing I wanted to share here, though, they're not selling. It doesn't say it here. I was doing some research here. They haven't sold any of their Bitcoin. All of the Bitcoin basically goes into a vault at this point that they haven't touched, a piggy bank that they're refusing to break.
Yeah, I rarely eat at Steak and Shake, but I did happen to go last week. I've been doing a water only fast for the last several days.
How did the fast go? Give us a little.
Still going. It's going great. I'm still on. I haven't eaten since Thursday around noon. And I knew I was going to be doing this, so I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday. I saw a Steak and Shake. I haven't been to Steak and Shake in forever, so I went in there. And when you order, the very first thing you see at their kiosk says Bitcoin burger. So they're out there pushing the Bitcoin message, which I thought was pretty cool. I mean, obviously took me a while to get there since they started doing this. It's probably been at least a year at this point. So shout out to Steak and Shake for building a strategic reserve and they're based, man. They're committed to the Bitcoin.
I got a question. If they added what altcoin, you would go there today? And TJ, I want to know more about your fast while they answer this question. So chat, which altcoin? Steak and Shake does an announcement today. You're like, I am going there no matter what. For me, I promise you, if they added Cardano, I am going that day and paying with my mobile wallet. Solana, ETH, Tether, probably not going to move the needle. But if they added Cardano, I'm 100% going. If they add Chainlink, I'm like, you're not getting my Chainlink. But you're fast. How did you feel after 24 hours, 48 hours? And at this point, we're almost at 72 hours. I mean, was there like a crash of energy? All of a sudden you feel like you've ascended? Where are we at?
No, it's pretty great. I mean, now obviously I'm drinking a lot of water and I drink electrolytes. So it's not pure water. It's just kind of mostly 0 calorie. I have had a couple of yerba mates, which do have 2 grams of sugar, which technically if you're trying to do a pure water fast, you're not supposed to do. But for me, I did a 3-day to start the year, like the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. And this time I think I'm trying to go till tomorrow, hit a 5-day. But no, I feel great. You feel a lot of mental clarity. The only thing that's tough was like if you're sitting at home, you have to stay busy. If you're sitting at home watching football, for example, they run a lot of food ads.
It is made to sell food. I believe the theory.
Yeah, it is. I mean, between Uber Eats and all the other ads that are running, and your brain, you've been doing this for so long. You're thinking, I want to get a snack while I'm watching this game. So that was a little bit tough. But other than that, as long as you stay on top of the electrolytes, it's not too challenging. What kind of inspired me, my barber friggin' did 10 days. And I'm thinking, well, if this guy can do a 10-day, like I can at least do 3 or 4. So it's very healthy for you. It resets basically your entire immune system and a lot of your mitochondria stuff if you want to get deep into it. But it does it. I mean, you're thinking like crazy. You're dreaming like crazy. It's pretty healthy. So
Cool.
I'm a big fan. I'm going to do 2 more. This is my second one already. I plan to do 4 this year. I just like to get ahead of my goals. So
I
yeah,
want
I
you to
love it.
apply for Survivor. You'll have a
I've
heads up over everybody. You'd be like, I'm the crypto business guy, and they would definitely turn you into a villain.
Yeah, you wouldn't tell people that if you're on Survivor. You know, to win
No,
Survivor
you
these days, you
can
need a good
now.
sob story.
Well,
you
now
know?
you can. They'll think you're poor. No, you just tell
Yeah,
people you only buy Cardano or XRP.
that's true. I'll say I'm in crypto, and they're like, "Oh, this guy really needs money. He's broke." Like, obviously, he's
You
not
know
doing
what?
well.
You get some jury votes that way, folks.
Yeah.
Say I put my life savings into Donald Trump coin, and now we're homeless, and wife's mad. All right, let's see here. Do you still now? Are you putting salt in your water? I do have just one last question. Are you putting
Yeah,
salt in there?
electrolytes. Yeah. So
Yeah, okay.
sodium and magnesium and some of that stuff. I drink the LMNT packets. Actually, I got these things right here. So what's in it? A lot of sodium, 200 milligrams of potassium, 60 grams or milligrams of magnesium.
I
There
hope
you go.
that potassium is from Kazakhstan. They have the world's best potassium. All other potassiums are inferior. All right,
Mineral
let's
salt, yeah.
let's get into more Trump suing news. Great, he's suing J.P. Morgan. Okay, all right. So he's gonna
Interesting.
be. Yeah, he said basically it's over what happened on this day during this protest. Protest that turned out to be correct for those doing the protesting. TJ, we're talking about things to not say. Probably could say about everything. I think this one's still maybe the third rail if there is one left.
Yeah, true.
So we won't get into the words, but yeah, so might be suing J.P. Morgan. Now, we do have a little bit of an update. Speaking of the White House here, now, Eleanor Tariff said, White House consider pulling their support after Coinbase, said to be furious with Brian Armstrong. Brian Armstrong said, not true, not true. And so some are saying it could ultimately benefit the crypto industry. Mike Vandepop, he says it was going to risk over-regulating DeFi and related markets. So that's not a terrible take. But Brian Armstrong, basically, he had a retort here. He said, Coinbase can't, unfortunately cannot support it. We talked about that. And then she said, all right, well, they're pissed. Trump is pissed at Bald Brian. Armstrong, though, denied the report and said negotiations to a draft bill are coming that would satisfy the crypto industry and the banks, and they're ongoing. And they've been super constructive during the process, Armstrong said. So we're getting two different stories. TJ, who do you believe, Eleanor or Brian Armstrong?
I believe a little bit of both. I mean, this was my take, a response to her thing. At the end of the day, the White House does work for the banks. And that's, again, this back and forth right here is what's taking me to it being JP Morgan versus BlackRock. I think, and it's no surprise. It's not a coincidence either that Trump's deciding to sue JP Morgan right now. Whose interest is stronger? That's kind of the hard part to figure out. They both have a ton of influence. So yeah, I do believe the Clarity Act needs a lot of work. I do commend Brian Armstrong for standing up and fighting for this industry. I do think it's a fight worth having. That bill had all kinds of stuff in there relating to regulation of KYC and DeFi front ends. And, obviously they're neutering stablecoins. I'm not as invested in the stablecoin part as I am in the DeFi part. And that's the part to me that they need to really get right. So my hope is they can get the DeFi part right and the KYC ALM stuff right and find a compromise on the stable coins. It's funny. I felt like it was almost like they were watching the show because it was close to passing. And we said on this show, I think a day or two before the banks really laid the hammer that like, oh yeah, they'll find, like with the way the verbiage is now, they'll find a workaround for the stable coins in order to still give yield without, while complying with this language because it's loose. And then the very next day, that was basically the argument the banking lobby made that like, hey, this language is too loose. They're gonna work around this and find a loophole, which they would have, in my opinion. So, but again, I feel like I'm a broken record. I feel like this is all just noise and distraction from, you had Mark Carney out there visibly pausing for emphasis, talking about New World Order. He said it in front of a lot of people. He said, it's time for the New World Order. And he said it just like that. So people understood what he was talking about. You've also got Scott Bessent out there talking about how we're going to see a Bretton Woods 2.0 type moment. Like, again, dig into your history. If you don't know what Bretton Woods is, it's very important. And it's how the U.S. basically became the U.S. dollar became the global reserve currency. So he's basically talking about a changing in the global reserve currency. And what do you got?
Hey,
Oh,
you're
yeah, there
not
you go.
referring to this new world order. We're talking about a
No.
global reset monetary policy, reset the life you live, and reset you to a point where you're eating cricket protein because you can't get beef, and your baby is sucking on cockroach milk because you're infertile at this
Yeah.
point. So
The global agenda is basically to find equilibrium, as they say. Which means if you're living in the United States, that's not good. The people in the United States need to, if they want to find everybody in the middle, and the U.S. is up here and other parts of the world are here, they want it to go like this. And so a big part of that is bringing the U.S. down. And so that's kind of what I'm talking about between the nationalist people who believe their nation should do what's best for their nation versus people believing their nation should do what's best for the world. And again, what you often see is the people that are the loudest about that, their actions don't back up their rhetoric. And that's why I hate politics. I feel like it's all a bunch of BS, and anybody that's out there in the middle of this at the top are some of the most vile, corrupt people on the planet that are not leading us towards prosperity. Oftentimes they're leading us towards destruction.
all right, speaking of vile people, who had an NWO t-shirt or Austin 316 t-shirt? Were you one of those people? I can actually say I never had one of those shirts, but I wanted them. My mother didn't take me to Roses to shop for clothing, so I couldn't get them, but I wanted them. I couldn't. I was poor, so I couldn't even afford an NW. But who had the t-shirt? I think a lot of people, definitely the Austin 316. I do want to highlight the trading. How it's been going. I said every Monday we're going to look at the weekly report. I did get a trade in. We did get in on the Pingu trade. It happened, I was up 8:45. I was a little bit late, so I actually waited for a pullback, and I did take a profit on it. So I'm already in a profitable trade this morning that I have completely closed. I am in a small long on Polygon. It was just me kind of charting here. But let's just look at the weekly stats. How about those numbers, TJ?
Yeah.
16 trades, 15 wins, only one loss, 94% win rate, total profit 1,700%. If you went with the very safe, you did almost a 5x, everybody. Monday, look at those numbers. It was just an insane day on Thursday. And like a lot of smart traders, low, no trades on the weekend. He does lean a little bit more bullish than bearish. Maybe that's also why we didn't see any longs in.
Well,
great week.
That's what I was going to emphasize too. That sometimes the no trades are more important than the trades. When there's no structure, he basically gave an indication that we need to wait and see what happens. And so no trades. And then he's also already crushed a trade this morning after I think it was Pengu bottomed, took a 40x long and is already, hitting profits on that. So very, very good trader. Quant uses research and analysis to come up with these trades. He's waiting for specific signals and calls. The link is in the description if you guys want to join in. It's free to join. Just get in there, get verified, and you'll see the trading chat. There's all kinds of people in there trading, and they'll help you along your trading journey. And then those all go into the trading signal calls.
We're in a winning trade right now, 20% in profit. Probably going to maybe shave half the position coming up soon. But yeah, just want to highlight that. Discord link is below. If you're not part of this Discord, join right now. I don't know what you're doing. If you're watching on your phone, maybe just kind of remember, jump on Discord a little bit. Link is going to be right below, folks. Now, we are going to talk to this guy. We're working on this. Yet, Sui. After I saw this comment, he says crypto's Trump moment is over. So this is Yet Sui from Animoca. We've done breakdowns on Animoca, what they're invested in. So keep an eye out on, maybe we'll talk to this guy, one of the major players in crypto, a lot of power behind the scenes. This guy can move some markets, especially with altcoins, and maybe ask him, all right, man, what are you invested in that you feel is undervalued? Tell me what you really think of the Orange Man. So make sure you subscribe to this channel. We're going to have that coming up. Let's talk a little Ethereum news. ETH exit queue now at 0. Entry queue, 2.5 million, the highest in 2.5 years. Right now, insane demand for staking Ethereum gives us 3 reasons why you should be bullish. Number 1, staking demand, 30-month high. Look at that chart. Very, very beautiful chart. The red line is people, basically exiting the queue. This is people entering the queue. There is no exit. So right now, very, very strong. A lot of buying pressure. ETF demand shows recovery signs. I love this chart. So the blue line combines orange and green. So let's just look at the blue line. This line right here is the percentage of all the Ethereum that is locked up in ETFs and treasuries. And you can see even though it's cooling down and maybe ETF's not looking all that strong, it is still trending up, higher highs, higher lows. More and more ETH is being taken off the market and just parked staking. You're stuck in line at that point. And so this is also very bullish. And then finally, the cost basis area, very strong support there, 3,100. ETH is just looking great. There's many reasons to be bullish on ETH, including 21 to SMA. Potential footing there.
And from a fundamental level, not just technical. I mean, we'll probably do a video on this too, because there's a ton of reasons to be bullish on ETH right now. I don't think that investment. I don't know if you probably covered it Friday from Tom Lee into Mr. Beast Financial Company.
Oh yeah, we did a big breakdown on that too. Yeah,
that's relevant. And then this is breaking as of today, or this just came out. New York Stock Exchange to launch 24/7 U.S. stock trading through new on-chain tokenized exchange. And so if you hear on-chain and tokenization, that's Ethereum right there. And so, and BlackRock obviously has pretty heavy influence. ICE who owns the New York Stock Exchange, invested in Polygon, Matic. So a lot of very bullish thing, which is a layer 2 on Ethereum. If you guys didn't know that, a lot of extremely bullish things coming down the pike right now for Ethereum. And every time I turn around, I want to buy more Bitcoin and want to buy more ETH. It's very hard, even though I do still buy some altcoins. You guys know I bought some Tau not that long ago. I've got a lot of Chainlink and Arrow. Those are kind of Chainlink, ETH, and Bitcoin are my top 3 for sure. But yeah, every time I start looking deep down the charts, it's like, wow, well, what about Ethereum, man? It's just looking better and better and better. So,
all right, people. Yeah, Chainlink is the oracle. I would say big news there. Chainlink is going to be some of the bigger news. And I guess if you're into stocks, probably bullish for BNY Mellon and Citi. So, maybe something to check out for those two. But to me, you might not see it on today's articles, but tomorrow's articles, the next day, you will see people talking about the Chainlink connection there. Very bullish.
People sleep on BNY Mellon. They were one of the, founders of Circle. They were the BNY Mellon, one of the oldest banks in the United States ever, has been exposed to crypto for a extremely long time. Like one of the first banks to actually start getting deep and heavy into crypto.
The oldest bank, not even the oldest bank. And some are saying it's in the code. Maybe pull on this one before you just kind of take it as a blanket statement that's true, but it probably is true if I had to guess.
Chainlink is in the middle of everything happening on an institutional level.
Speaking of altcoins, warning, 3 delistings, 23 trading pairs, 20 of them probably don't have any exposure. 3 altcoins, so pay attention here. Hit that like button. This might be one of your altcoins that are going to be delisted. It's kind of one of the kisses of death for an altcoin. This article kind of breaks it down. Let's just go to the actual. I've had to highlight this 3 times, but I remember there's only 3 that I'm actually going to highlight here. Atom ETH. So, there's going to be other Atom pairs. I've already looked into it. There are other Atom pairs, but just not a good sign. Not a good sign at all. The other one that I also thought was, well, isn't great either. OP ETH. Not great either for optimism. And then last but not least, Ordi Bitcoin trading pair. I would say if you're in any of those 3 altcoins, maybe start looking at exit. That would be my 2 cents there.
Yeah, and a lot of people feeling this sentiment here. Smaller alts crushed me last year, finding myself turning into a maxi real quick. Yeah, bear markets make Bitcoin maxis for sure. Obviously, when things start pumping hard and everything goes back to risk on, there is money to be made in altcoins, but oftentimes that window is quite short. And so you need to be prepared and ready. I can't really disparage altcoins too much because I did make life-changing money with altcoins. Now I've rolled that into Bitcoin and I'm much more Bitcoin focused now. I think that's true for almost not anybody, but for many, many people that hold a substantial amount of Bitcoin, that is the case. They got it through trading altcoins. So there is a time in a season where altcoins make a lot of money. My 2 kind of mid-range altcoins that I'm very bullish on are Morpho and Arrow, largely due to the Base ecosystem and their connection to Coinbase, who again is in the middle of a lot of this institutional stuff. I think Coinbase custodies 8 of the 10 ETFs out there. There's probably more now, but at one point, Fidelity, I think, was one of the only ones to self-custody, if I remember correctly. But Coinbase holds custody for most Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs. So if they know what's going on the institutional level, they're using Aerodrome Finance to facilitate a lot of their stuff. CB Bitcoin, a big part of DeFi. So that's why they're so invested in this Clarity Act, getting it right, much more than many others. I do like Kraken a lot too, but there's not as clear connection between projects in Kraken, maybe Solana, but that's another rabbit hole.
All right. Now, we do have, I would say, good news for the Link Bulls right now. Why is Link, let me just ask this question. Why is Link not making these major moves? You expect some explosive moves, but every time you get a Link move and you're like, oh, this is a pump or a dump for ants. What the heck's going on here? Well, it's physics. It's geometry. Link is actually running out of space. And so as we get closer and closer to the endpoint, the swings are being compressed. And so we don't have much room when you're looking at this range. And so I did want to throw out the top $22. Now, this is a log chart. So I hope you're ready for a very, very dubious price analysis.
I'm always ready for
very
that.
dubious.
Get me
I mean,
excited.
this is so dubious, folks, but I think it's fun.
$900.
We're looking at $365 chain link, $1 for every day BlackRock uses it in a year, which is every day because they're going to use it every day.
That sounds good to me.
Hey, I like a $350 chain link.
Me
Let's
too.
talk about Solana. Solana testing a lower boundary of an ascending triangle on the 2-week chart. And so I wanted to draw this one out. Again, this is a log chart. Maybe it's dubious, but we're still going to have fun here. I think you can make an argument. Yes, this is a touch on the bottom. This is a touch on the top. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, buts about it, really. And this is given $20,000 Solana, TJ.
20K. All right. That'll get me excited too. That one to me, I don't know why. That one seems more dubious than a $300 chain link. I do think that's attainable in some ways. They just got that patent. You know, a lot of their actual economics are just now kicking in. I mean, I'd be happy for $1,000 Solana.
Let's say this. We'll do this. This one. I mean, still looking at $3,300. Solana's the new ETH.
Yeah, there you go. That's got a ways to go to be the new ETH, in my opinion. But I do think Solana has strong pumpamentals. I do think it has the ability to pump and pump hard when the crypto sector starts moving as a whole. I see Ethereum winning in a lot of the layer one conversations. They're getting fast. They're getting cheap. You know, they're having privacy. A lot of this narrative, almost every narrative out there that other chains are running, Ethereum oftentimes does better than some of these other chains, and they can also adopt that technology. So we'll see. But I mean, you guys have to remember, we saw trillions and trillions and trillions added to gold, silver, and metals that have been around for a long time, and saw pumps that people said for many years were impossible. If we see anything close to $3 to $5 trillion coming into Bitcoin, the numbers that some of these smaller coins will make will absolutely melt your brain. And it will seem unreal and unreasonable. And I understand now, us talking about that now, while it has been very difficult for the last couple of years, even in a bullish environment, it's been underwhelming for most people's expectations. A day will come where your expectations will be absolutely blown out of the water, and you will see money flow into crypto like you cannot imagine today. Absolutely coming.
100%. And I do like this last question here. How many ETH are there? It's a good question. Let me teach you how to fish. If you go to one of the top sites, you can do CoinMarketCap or CoinGecko. You could click on a token, and on the left side, it's going to give you some quote unquote tokenomics. It's going to give you some of the economics of a token. And if you look here, it gives you the market cap, fully diluted valuation, and circulating supply, 120 million ETH. Max supply, technically, infinity. But, you know, I'm not going to do my bit on ETH tokenomics. I've done it once or twice. Don't need to do it again. But yeah, ETH, this is how you figure out what is a token supply of a token. And then you got to see circulating supply. So you see, are 10% of the tokens out, or 100% of the tokens out, or 95% of the tokens out, like in Bitcoin's case.
And that's a good reminder for everybody. If you don't know how that stuff works, that is probably, if you're new to crypto, that lesson right there is probably the most important thing for you to understand.
That's the first step from level 1 to level 2, understanding token supply and market cap.
Yeah. I mean, arguably that's level 1, in my opinion.
Yeah,
if you don't understand token supply, circulating supply, fully diluted market cap, inflation rate, or emission rate, as a lot of them like to say, then you're going to have a bad time in crypto. I'll just say that much.
You're going to be crying tears. But guess what? We're fresh out of crying towels. Why? Because we got so many profits in the Discord. Make sure you join in the Discord, folks. We also got a robust trading chat. People going in there. And this guy, John Dalton, let's just say he has his own channel for a reason.
Yeah. You just follow his trades. You're probably, over the last 12 to 24 months since he's had that, you're probably already a millionaire. So,
and I got a small account. I'm already up 50% just in the last couple weeks. And this is me just not really being super diligent, not watching this Discord at like 2 a.m. And if I did that, I'd be up, 10x, 20x for sure. But that is our show for today. Everybody smash the like button on the way out. Smash the like button to support TJ with his fast. Hit the like button. If you can't do it like me, I would be hangry. I'm already an office menace. I don't need to be more of an office menace.
You never know until you try it.
I about blew up on the wife this weekend because I went till 1 or 2 p.m. without eating. I was moving stuff in the garage. We're about to lay drywall, and I'm moving a shelf, and a fire extinguisher fell off the top because I'm moving it with stuff, and didn't hit me, but almost hit me. And I'm like, motherfucker. Maybe the headphones made me scream a lot louder. The wife's looking at me. I'm like, I'm not mad. I'm just, I'm hangry. I was just a little hangry.
One more thing I did want to mention. Obviously, it is Martin Luther King Day today, and shout outs to the people celebrating that. And I don't know if you guys are at home or at work or whatever it is. Obviously, we work all the time, so we don't take national holidays off all the time. But one thing I learned this morning, I didn't know this, that today, Martin Luther King Day, the purpose of this holiday, it's the only federal national holiday that's purpose is to take time serving your community. That's why it was designated. Everybody was supposed to take some time off and give back to their community in remembrance of somebody who did so much for his community. So think about that today. Hopefully try to do something good for somebody else. Try to,
create a new world order of peace and harmonious just collaboration.
There you go. I mean, just understanding service is one of the keys to happiness, I think, is a very important thing. And living outside of yourself, your own thoughts, your own opinions, your own problems, get out there and make your world a little bit bigger today. Just wanted to give you guys that encouragement on the way out. And also with the Clarity Act, they are coming after self-custody. We've been telling you for a long time they would be. Never a bad time to self-custody your own assets if you care about freedom. Arculus, one of our top partners here, is a big advocate for that. We've been with them for years. That's why we use them so much and promote them so much, is we believe in self-custody. You get 20% off, DC20. We'll see you guys out. We just wanted to take a quick second to shout out our sponsor, Arculus. They are a cold storage hardware wallet. Helps you secure all of your digital assets for the future. Just tap this thing to the back of your phone and boom, you're in. We wouldn't be able to do this without them, but also wouldn't be able to do this without you guys, the Disco fam. You've supported us a lot over the years. If you want to support the channel now, just use the code DC20. It gets you 20% off this card. It's the #1 way you can support this channel going forward. Thank you for your support. We'll see you at the top.